Good morning, church, and welcome to Central Online, the 49th service that we have for you. We really hope that you enjoy it today.
Hi, my name's Gracie Dalton and this is my mum, Carrie Dalton.
So this morning our service is packed and we've got a fantastic life story for you. It'll be really interesting, it'll be really informative, and you'll hopefully learn a lot through it. The Bible actually tells us that we need to be thankful in our worship and we need to be respectful and worship with awe to the amazing God that we serve.
Even though we're not together in person, we can still worship. Let's worship.
You unravel me with a melody, and you surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name, and I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Whoa, 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 You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God, 'cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear.
Thank you, worship team. That was brilliant.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. And now we're going to hand over to Pete West, who's going to take us through communion.
Yes, we come round the Lord's table this morning. We're reminded for Corinthians, as we normally read, that when we come together, we're coming to remember something. And as we read for 1 Corinthians 11 and 23, where it's read, For I received from the Lord that what I also passed unto you, the Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, this is the cup as the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me. For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death till he come. This morning I'm just thinking, as we come round the Lord's table, why do we do it like? Well, we do it because there was a price. There was a price that had to be paid for our redemption. And we read the Lord Jesus on the night that he was betrayed. One of the biggest prices that he had to suffer was the betrayal of one of his own. We read earlier on in the Gospel of John how Judas betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. But we also read, like on the night he was troubled, as he put his hand in, dipped the bread and handed it to Judas, when they were all quarrelling and thinking this could never happen. So we see there's a great price paid in betrayal. There's also a great price paid with suffering as well. We're going through the whole time we see him in the Garden of Gethsemane, for he says to his Father, if it's possible, let this pass for me, but not my will, your will be done. So he was in great trouble at that point as well. So it wasn't a cheap sacrifice. It was done for our salvation. So as we come round the table this morning, let's remember that there was a great price, and that's even before he got to the cross. For he was able to say there, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Few words after that, he says, it is finished. It meant the work of redemption had been completed. So let's not forget this morning of the betrayal and the sacrifice of the Lord Jesus. But we're going on to read from the words of the Lord in this chapter is highlighted and read. It says, this do in remembrance of me. So if it also we're remembering this morning, we're remembering not only the great sacrifice it was paid, but what we received out of this. We received redemption. Our sins was taken away. It says, as far as the east is for the west, where transgressions have been removed, never to be remembered. I don't know about you, but it thrills me to think that our sins, not in part, the hymn writer says, not in part, but the whole, have been nailed to the cross, and we bear it no more. So we should be thrilled this morning as we come. Twice in that we see the Lord Jesus saying, remember, in remembrance of me. And then as we go on in that same bit, we get a great assurance. So we see a price, we see a purpose, and the last bit we see, he's coming back. It says we're only doing this until he comes. It's a great assurance that it wasn't the end, the cross wasn't the end. We then see a empty tomb, for we're seeing the words of the angel as he sits in the stone. Why seek ye the living among the dead? He is not here, he is risen. So we serve our risen Saviour this morning. And we're going on and we see just a few chapters on in the book of Acts. Acts chapter 1, when we're reminded there's a promise as well. The promise is we're only doing this till he comes. We're reminded as well when he was caught up into heaven, we see the disciples standing and they're gazing up into heaven as the Lord Jesus was taken up. In Acts chapter 1 verses 8, we see, why stand ye gazing? An angel comes down and says to them, well, it says two men in white. It says, why stand ye gazing up into glory? This same Jesus will come back in the same like manner as you've seen him go. So this morning we would just like to remind you that there's a great price, there's a purpose, and there's always a promise. So as we partake this morning, remind yourselves these three things that the Lord Jesus did for us on the cross. Amen.
Was torn, you mend again. You redesigned the tighter thread by New Year dawn has conquered night and death has lost a life, and now we are exchanging old for new. You turn our flame into the fire, and you we walk in the impossible. We take your love into the world. We let your light shine. We let it burn. And joy begins to rise, and hope begins to light the dark. And our God exchanges old for new. Year dawn, it's conquered night and death. Though it's lost alive, and now we are exchanging old for new. There's nothing that your love won't do. There's not a mountain faith can move. There's power in the blood, the power of the cross. So there's nothing that your love won't do. There's not a mountain faith can move. There's power in the blood, power of the cross. So joy begin to rise, and hope begin to light the dark, and our God exchanges old for new. Year dawn has conquered night and death. Though it's lost alive, and now we are exchanging old for new. There's nothing that your love won't do. There's not a mountain faith can move. There's power in the blood, the power of the cross. So there's nothing that your love won't do. There's not a mountain faith can move. There's power in the blood, power of the cross.
So we've really enjoyed some of the life stories that we've heard over the last weeks and months. They've really helped us to get us to know some of our church family and the wider community, and so we hope that you really enjoy what we have for you today.
Ben is going to interview Ashley Runcie, and we'll find out a bit about her life.
So Ashley, good to have you here.
Good to be here.
I've said hello a few times in the last while, but I've got to speak to you for quite a while, so we'll just get a good catch up. During lockdown, is there a snack that you've enjoyed?
A snack. A snack.
Or a something you've started to mark? Come on, I mean, like I tried marking
Pavlovas.
Pavlovas.
Went for mutton pavlovas. Yep.
Aye.
Cheesecakes and pavlovas. We went for bacon.
Nice.
They got
And have you became good at it, or is
very good at
and
it.
as a family, think you've become good? No.
Very
Um,
good. I'm there. Right, listen. Can we behave? Because I need to get home.
Did you say they're very bad? They're very bad.
Very bad.
Okay, but
Well, I like mutton pavlovas and cheesecakes. That's where we're at.
okay.
Puddings.
Newly appointed centre manager at Benaya. Tell us a bit about that. How did you get to be in that place? What's it like to fill Grace Dawn's shoes? Things like that. How are you feeling about it?
It's been some journey, I will say. I started at Benaya 10 years ago and started with only doing 2 sleepovers a week because the bairns were really, really little. So I would have started at 5 and finished at 9. So I was just in sleepovers. And then I kind of gradually, as the bairns got older and the years was getting on, I was taking on more hours and learning more things. So, and really enjoying Benaya. I love the work. I love the quines. I love ploughing into these Queen's lives. I just love it. It's it's the best thing ever. And I suppose Grace has been absolutely amazing, isn't she? She's a great woman of God, great teacher, great mentor, she's just Grace, isn't she?
She's brilliant,
She's
aye.
just the amazing Grace. We call her amazing Grace at work. She's just amazing Grace. I've learnt so much for Grace. She's just got some way about her that you just want to sit under her and learn. So I've learnt so much with the teaching, the counselling, all that kind of things. But I think it was 2017, Grace had kind of decided, and this is what I find really, really amazing about the women of God that I get to journey with and work with. It's something special. In 2017, Grace thought she would, I think she wanted to be a granny eventually, and she was kind of winding down, so she had all that kind of thoughts in her head, and she, I think her heart is to pave the way for the younger ones to come in, okay? And I think that was her mindset. So I knew in 2017 that there was something in the pipeline for me. I never really gave it too much thought because I knew back then that I wasn't ready. Really knew back then I wasn't ready, but it gave me so many years to kind of journey on and challenge myself, work with the counselling and the teaching, and just build on my confidence, because I am probably somebody I just lack so much confidence in all areas of my life at times. It's something that's been a right hard thing in life to sort out, but then it finally happened. It took me by surprise, actually, just a few months ago. Well, it would have been maybe November, I think, last year, I think, that Grace had kind of decided, right, this is it, I need it to change. We need to do this swap over. And I thought, oh wow, okay, this is actually happening. So met with Gordon and Grace, and the story was that Gordon wanted it kind of to become official on the 1st of December. He says, this is what's happening, 1st of December. We'll put it to the staff first, and then the Queens, and then we can kind of put it to air. I thought, okay, great. Oh no, great. That's kind of what my thought was. Oh no, I was just terrified, absolutely terrified. So I had a moment in the house. It's just phenomenal how God works, and how God works with your dreams when you're not thinking about it either. And I was tidying on the Saturday morning. I'd told my family on the Friday, because I hadn't really told anybody that this was happening over the years. I just kind of kept it to myself, because I suppose in my head, I didn't really think it was going to happen, if I'm honest. So I kind of kept it to myself. Matthew knew, but I kind of kept it to myself. And I was tidying up, and it was a Saturday morning, and I have a journal drawer in my bedroom, and I was just putting away a journal. So I picked out another one, and I was looking at it, and it was the one I'd written when I was just leaving Wales in 2003. And I opened it up, and I was just kind of flicking through it, and I looked at the 1st of December. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Gordon says the 1st of December, we'll mark this kind of public and official. And I looked at the 1st of December 2003 in my journal, and I'd written, I'd written a scripture down, Habakkuk 2, write your vision down, mark it plain, it will wait for it and it will happen. I'd just written that down quite simply. And underneath I'd written a wee prayer, really feel in my heart that Lord's telling me I'm going to hear my in-centre.
Wow.
Lord, you need to speak to me, you need to confirm this, and just a simple prayer. And when I read it, I thought, 1st of December 2003, I wrote that. And on 1st of December 2020, that was when it was happening, 17 years later. So I suppose when I think of that, I think, chase your dreams, innit?
Amazing.
Believe in your dream, even though you think it's mad, because I've always hid it in the back of my head. I suppose I stalked Grace Dawn's job, if I'm honest. I probably in the back of my head was stalking her job, but not really thinking about it, but always had a dream that there was something bigger there. So it's amazing. When I think back, I actually broke my heart and thought, wow, I can't believe this is happening.
You mentioned your family there, so Matthew. Husband.
Yep.
And you've been married to him for how long now?
17 years.
Is it 17 years?
I think, well, Emily's 16 in June, and I 17. So 17 years.
Was it 2003 or 2004 for you?
I think it was 2003.
Aye. That was the first wedding that I did, your wedding. Aye.
Because I mind asking you to wear a kilt, and you didn't.
Well, I got a new suit for it.
You did.
See that you've kept that
Aye.
against me. So, wow, 17 years.
17 years.
And then Jamie Lee and Taylor. So how old are they now?
Jamie Lee will be 16 in June, and Taylor has just turned 13.
Wow.
Just a couple of days ago.
So if it's like having grown-up kids.
It's difficult.
But it's amazing.
It's a bit different.
But Jamie Lee's here with you tonight, so I ken that you must have a great relationship with him. And it's just an amazing success, really, Ken, when we're looking at where you're at now, where your life is now, for God's teen yet. I mean, it could be easy to think that you've had an easy route to this place. Probably that you never did much wrong in your life, and you went to Sunday school and youth camps and things, and you know what I'm saying, went probably to uni and did a degree in whatever, psychology or social work or whatever, that's led to this progression of where you're at in your career, things like that. But that is quite far from the truth, isn't it?
Far from the truth.
So if we go back, early life, obviously brought up in the Broch for a while and then moved to Belgar or Inveralchi and went to school there. So good upbringing, good family, but tell us about that kind of early years, up to primary school.
Okay,
that
well,
kind of way.
moved to Belgar, brought up in a Broadsea, Gar Street. Moved to Belgar when my dad's a Belgar, mum's a Brocher, dad's a Belgar. Sort of quite a mixed breed in the family. Granny's Irish, other folks Peter Heed, so there's a good mixed breed. But moved to Belgar when I was getting into primary 4. Two brothers, hard-working folk, comfy, hard-working, quiet folk, and never wanted for nothing. Have always just had a really, really good upbringing. Mum and dad was off a good to us, worked off a hard, gave us everything that we needed. We always had family round about us, great granny and granda. Brought up we really, a really good upbringing. I could never ever fault my upbringing, because people often say, when they find out how I ended up, if it was your upbringing, but I could never fault my upbringing. I had a special upbringing. It was very, very special, and I'm always thankful for it. And but moved to Belgar when I was in primary 3, so whatever age it is, I kind of quite mind. But found it really, really difficult to fit in. Coming for the Broch at that kind of age, and then getting into Belgar. Found it awful hard to fit in. Mummy says I was a really good queen, would have done the jobs round about the house, was always washing dishes, was washing cars, knew the right side of a pound, because I like to get my pocket money at the end of the day. And Mum worked full time as well, so after school I would have looked after the loons in the house. We have 2 brothers that are a wee bit younger than me, so I would have been the one that would have kind of looked after them. When Dad was a lot, he's a fisherman, so I was a good bairn. My mum says I was a really good bairn, but I felt when I was just a day she woke up and I just changed. And I suppose in my mind I can kind of see when it kind of happened, and I suppose struggling to fit in, I was crippled with shyness, and I was really quite bullied at school, and I'm sure everybody's got their experience with bullying, but I suppose me being me, we're all different, aren't we? And I just didn't know how to cope with it, and there was a few instances just doing about Belgar and with the folk that was going about me. And I remember walking up to Fraser Crescent after something had happened at the Belgar school, and I just thought to myself, and I can't fit to do next, and I can't far to go, far to be with. Again, I was quite distraught, really, actually, of my mind.
For hen pals, for hen female pals at the time, and then is that when you kind of started hanging with the boys, really? With
the boys. They were just easier to get on with. The lads were just, I've just always been that way. I suppose having 2 brothers, and my dad's a man's man, and I suppose growing up in that kind of environment, and Uncle Stuart was a nightmare as well. We were always scrapping and wrestling, and we're just that kind of family. Dad was rolling about in the ground with us, we were feichteting. So I was brought up like that. Loons are just easier to get on with, and I found out as time was going on, growing up, because it was quite hard trying to fit in, and it was really, really difficult.
But the loons can sometimes be a bit more mischievous, can't they?
They were very, very mischievous. They were awful mischievous. They were rare characters to be around, definitely. Especially the Belgars.
So what was some of the stuff you got up to then?
Well, you would have jumped up and down the lanes, and you'd have smashed some windows, you would have powdered windows. There was definitely a special guy in Belgar that if you tapped his door, he would have chased you about Belgar.
No names.
No names. No names. And then we was into drinking and that. We would have liked a drink and a fag. And I mind my first fag was at Station Road underneath the chute with the hoosey bit at top of it in Station Road Park. And I mind him my first fag when I was in primary 7. So just little things, things where you just got up to mischief, didn't you? Drinking, folks' garages, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say out loud, but folks' garages on why we would have given about it and took what was there and just kind of helped ourselves in about Bulgar. Just help myself.
Aye, so borrowing things and putting them back.
Yes.
Is that aye? Okay. So right, so drinking and smoking started already before going into the academy. So if it was then the transition like for you going into early teenage years.
Well, I think going into the academy, I suppose it's difficult for them to get into academy, and it's coming from a wee village and then into a big school, and it's daunting, isn't it? It's half a daunting. I mind it being daunting. And I was never ever sure if I fit in, again, with the crowds that I was going to be. I was never ever sure. But I really found academy really, really difficult. I didn't enjoy school. I didn't interest in school. All that I wanted to do was have a bit of fun, be up to no good, smoke my fags, get a bit drunk, and just have a good party. I think that was my mindset. I just wanted to have a lot of fun. That was kind of far it was gone. So I didn't last very long in school. I kind of got through first year and second year, and then by third year I was wavering a wee bit. I was hardly there.
14, 15, it started to change, not just drinking and smoking, was it?
No, that started with the speed and the tablets at times. Not a lot of tablets because I was still quite naive to all that stuff at that time. But there would have been folk, when I would have worked at Aspire, I was guys in Quines as well, would come in their cars, all our folk that would come in their cars, and they would come in for their tinfoil, and I always thought to myself, and also the buying, and they were chatty and they were confident, and they would news a lot of you, and they would flatter you, they would invite you, at times you would get invited along, so it just kind of rolled like that. It came to that point eventually where I would have joined them a couple of times after my work at the Spar. I would have jumped in at 5 o'clock and we would have gone along to the harbour, and I would have watched them, and then there was times where I would have probably dabbled with it, and that would have been the heroin at that time. So I dabbled quite young, but never really went for it at that kind of age.
But it would have been tinfoil, smoking it,
Yep.
And so I was pretty young then.
Pretty young. Well, I'd been probably 15.
15.
If I'm mine right, it would have been 15.
And would there have been a lot of people your age in the academy, or was that mostly other folk that you were hanging with then, or would there have been some at that age that would have been into the heroin as well?
I think I didn't recognise, because I didn't really realise what I was doing, if I'm honest, because I was quite naive at that age.
Wow.
I didn't really realise the speed was massive, and smoking hash was massive, and the tablets at time was big with the folk in Belgar and growing up and at that kind of age. I knew nothing about all that kind of stuff, and drinking and smoking fags was a big deal back then and now because it was so far away.
So was it just highs like that you got for it? You know what I mean? Because obviously, you know, the message we want to get Abdi is bide off it. But you know what I mean? Were you just drawn into it, just how it made you feel? And
yep, and that's been my problem. That was my problem through my whole addiction. I absolutely loved drugs. I loved the mischief. I loved the ducking and diving. I loved the carry on. I loved the danger. Wow. I just loved that environment. And that was what destroyed me, really. That environment destroyed me. The love of it destroyed me.
Aye. Wow. So you, like we're saying, that's at 15, dabbling even with heroin, various different drugs, smoking and drinking had been for a while. So, did you leave school early and start a job?
Aye. Well, I left the Spar and hadn't been going to school very much anyway, so I had hardly any qualifications through school. And got myself a job in the chemist. I had family that worked in a chemist, and I think it was a family chemist anyway. So I think my family knew their family. It was just we were a Kent, so I got myself a job in a chemist, and I always remember thinking in the back of my head, oh wow, this is a capture, an absolute capture.
Because a lot of
Little did I
medication.
ken that maybe a year and a half later I was going to be pretty much captured.
Captured by it.
Captured by it. It got me instead.
So you're working in a chemist, you've kind of got a lot of medication
It
available
was a capture.
to hay on tap almost.
Yes.
I kind of remember you at that time, and I can how Ken, but just remembering you would have never have Kent. Give I mean, you're quite a glamorous kind of looking person that it looked as if you'd nothing going for you. Did you feel like yourself? Give I mean, were you living on the high and loving it, or you know, because it's no long after that.
I used to laugh because it eventually got to the point, because I would have been bonny, I would have been, my hair was always done, the makeup was always on, and I was always bonny. I always knew to keep myself decent, Ken. But see, inside I was absolutely crumbling, and I knew I was crumbling inside. If I was kind of new, probably for a young teenager, I've never felt right inside. I was always at something that just was never quite right. I was always discontented or unhappy, or there was always a something. I just knew there was just a something inside that just wasn't fitting right. So when I went to the chemist, it was on the outside I looked really, really good, but on the inside I was just an absolute disaster. I was a mess. I was quite broken, and I recognised the brokenness in myself even at a young age in the chemist.
But you managed to put on a front.
I was able at that point.
People would never have looked on and couldn't that, would they? So you spoke about loving it, but was there a sense of emptiness within you? Was there a sense of shyness as well, that these, you know, substances, whatever it was, did it help with that?
Oh, it definitely helped. But by the time I'd started the chemist, we was in amongst Speed and Pro Plus. I would have loved a Pro Plus.
Oh,
a packet of Pro Plus to start your work was...
Did that get you going?
It got you going at it, and then you were in amongst the pieces in there. It was just how it started was a wee Pro Plus. So I would have taken a lot of Speed in your Pro Plus tablets. You could have got them for the chemist. That was quite handy. Dream
job for a while. We had that at hand, but you know it came to an end. So speak us through that, and then what happened following that.
When I was at the chemist, I had been taking a lot of Valium. An awful lot of Valium. I loved Valium. In fact, Valium just knocks you out, really. It has you feeling invincible. It has you, nothing can stop you when you're on the Valium. And that's kind of what happened. And I suppose my time in the chemist was very, very vague. I didn't really mind too much about it because of the Valium. I was just overwhelmed by it. But I remember a certain time, and I think reps were in, and I can vaguely mind getting into trouble because I was raising my voice at the reps that was coming in, and I would have been knocking myself into waz at times, just forgetting that I was waz there and banging into the waz. Just still probably out my head for the night before on these tablets, and it affected my my day.
So noticeable.
In the case, it's awful noticeable.
Behaviour,
but I was on so much volume, and I would have left the chemist, and that was when I was in amongst the. I started in amongst the heroin then as well.
Mm-hmm.
A wee bit more.
More than Dublin.
More than Dublin. I was in like a wee bit more. It wasn't a regular thing, but it was just something that that was just always about at that time with the folk that I was going about with. But the volume was my biggest problem then.
Yep.
And it just went from bad to worse. Absolutely went from bad to worse. And I remember my mum coming in and to my room one day, and she just says, "Ashley, that's you. You've been sacked. You now got a job." And I couldn't understand how I had a job because it was just so vague. My mind had just I think my mind had kind of gone.
Yep.
The volume had taken over, and my mind was gone. I couldn't mind nothing.
Well, we'll go into that territory now, because as I often think when you start to speak about fit drugs, for a young person, so far they might be thinking, oh, you can get rid of your shyness, you can get rid of that empty feeling. But let's look at what it really does now. Mm-hmm. So this is when it starts, isn't it? This is when it starts to be so noticeable in your life. You lose that job.
I lose that job.
And then
I lost my dream. I had everything was set up for me. I think to myself enough, and I look back, it wasn't until I was into Hope House that I actually look back, and it saddens me that I had no dream, that I was a young girl that probably had everything that life had to offer, but then I had no aspirations, I had no dreams, I just had nothing about me at such a young age, and I find that really, really sad when I look back, because I think of Jamie Lee at the age that she's at, and we're ploughing into her. You want her to dream big, you want her to go for what she wants to do in life, and I had nothing about me at that age, and it makes me quite sad when I look back on the journey. And if somebody was watching us as well, it's sad. It breaks my heart to think about it, that to be so young, I had no dream and no aspiration, but life just went chaotic after the chemist. I hadn't a clue if I was coming or gone. My mind was going. Depression was there. I was just broken. I was an absolute mess. And I was still able to really hide it. I was good at hiding. I'm good at putting on a front. I probably still am yet. But we're good at, we get really, really clever at hiding things. And I always had everything that I needed and wanted in life. So it was quite easy for me to kind of hide behind maybe makeup or the new coat or the new trainers. I always hid something. I never wanted for anything in life, so it was quite easy to hide.
But you didn't have the routine or the
No.
job, so the addiction was still there, and I suppose getting worse. But there was nothing else for you to do apart from pursue. Then I suppose the drugs.
Yeah, I went to the college, and that's when it just went. I was not coming back for it. I kind of knew I was not coming back for this, and met heaps of folk at the college that were older. That's how I got into the crowds that were a wee bit older, and they were, it was dinner time, after college, night time, and they were just smoking gear all the time. And I just got involved with these guys, and there was a few girls as well who got involved in it, and it just, I knew I wasn't coming back for this. I was in too deep. I kind of knew.
Really? What would you say, if you could say, was the worst point for you?
There's been so many points. If I'm honest, there's been so many points, and I've got so many of them sticking in my head at the minute. But there was one night, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was in his house, and I sometimes wonder how I managed to get myself into these kind of predicaments. I really have no idea how it sometimes happened. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I still smell the night. I still ken how it looks. It was misty. I could smell it. And I'd been in this house, and people had bust into this house. There was stuff going on. There was a lot of violence. There was just a lot of madness going on in this house. And I mind running. It was like I was running for my life. I mind running out this house and jumping into my car. It was 3 in the morning. I sat at the phone boxes at Hamilton Road, and I sat here, broken in tears. Mind was gone, strung out, sick, really, really sick. And I just thought to myself, how have I managed to get to this point in my life? How have I got here? I didn't care for today. I didn't care how to get better. I didn't even care if I want to get better, actually. I kind of came to that point that I thought, right, this is my life, isn't it? And I mind saying it to myself. I thought, well, this is it. This is how it's going to be. I'm an addict. I'm a mess. I've no hope. I had no dream. I had nothing about me. Family was turning their back on me. They didn't know what to do with me. Didn't have any friends, because you don't really have friends in that kind of world. It's acquaintances, isn't it? And that's how it gets to you. Had no money. Had nothing, absolutely nothing. And I just thought to myself, this is how it's got to be. I'm just going to go for it. This is how I'm going to die. This is exactly how I'm going to die. So I might as well just go in for it and do the best I can at it. And that's how I thought. So I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. There was no tunnel, in fact. There was nothing for me to walk through. I just thought, that's it.
How old then? Because, how long had this gone on for, the getting a job quite young in a chemist's, losing that job? I mean, how old were you at this point? At
this point, well, I find it absolutely amazing how quick my life got downhill. For the age of probably 15 to, I think I went to whatever rehab when I was 21, and it just went like that really, really fast.
Wow.
And I'm always amazed at how fast things went, and they just kept going doing and doing and doing. It was rapidly bad.
I think we've got, is it maybe ask your permission, but it's okay to show, you know, what pictures that we've got here at the time, give I mean, because it is, it's really impacting to see the contrast. So you mentioned Gordon. Gordon was a pastor at the Assembly Church in Cairnbalga at the time.
Aye, so
and so your mum must have got in touch with him, eh?
aye, it was probably one of my low. It was probably one of the low point that I had in life, and I can't really mind too much about it because I do believe I think my mind was going at some point. That I was losing it. I was losing the plot, and I always remember. Can everybody kens what darkness is, and everybody's torment is hard. And I remember thinking to myself, I think I'm losing my mind at one point. I think I just kind of started at IFC and I was losing it. I knew I was losing it. Couldn't cope, and I was losing. Couldn't sleep. I couldn't get into my work at 7 in the morning without. It was horrible. And I mind coming in my tether at some points. A lot of points I was coming in my tether. And I think my folks got there before me. And I just remember, I don't actually remember too much, but I'd been really, really strung out. My mum had seen me somewhere, taken my home, and I mind being in my bed. And just in bits, I had no drugs, my body was jumping off the bed. I felt as though my mind was going. And all that I remember was Auntie May sitting at the end of my bed and praying for me. First experience ever, anything like that. Wow. And I just mind being really, really strung out that day, and a stranger walks into the room. And all that I remember I'm saying was, look at the state of you. As harsh as that, but I'd probably had a really bad attitude. I'd probably tell him and sworn and tell him far to go. That's kind of how it was, wasn't it? And he just kind of says, look at the state of you. But you've still got your TV, yeah? And I went, I suppose I have still got my TV. I put a thought in my head, but and then he left, and I can't really remember too much about it. But he would have. And I remember my mum saying he was good, and he came in about, and he was up good to the family. Aye. Because I didn't want nothing to do with it.
I mean, your family were really, really.
They're in their tether.
They were desperate for you to get a change in a turnaround in your life. Uncle Stuart and Auntie Alison. I mean. I remember Uncle Stuart chasing you down.
He's an absolute menace.
Can you remember
Still is a menace.
He's a menace. Can you remember him chasing after you, trying to get you into the...
Well, I didn't remember it. I don't remember him chasing me, but I remember the day actually very, very well, because I'll never forget the day. I'd been in a Broadgate. A wee guy, sadly he's now with us anymore, Stuart. He was got his house. We jumped in a taxi. I'd obviously scooted past Stuart and gave him money cut probably, or had not even seen him that he was there in the street. So I jumped into a taxi up West Road into this guy's house, was doing what we was doing, and we just happened to look up, and here's Uncle Stuart's face peering through the window, out. I thought, for honest sake, here he goes again. Again, he was just non-stop. Again, he was non-stop. But thank goodness for Uncle Stuart, because he was great with Mum and Dad, and they needed that.
All your family around about you had so much love for you. I remember that, and they were just desperate to see you get it.
My dad used to. I remember him with the phone in every day to go to. When you were going to Hope House, you have to phone in every day at St. Muir Centre. And I just always remember my dad. Well, I didn't actually remember it. He told me a couple of Christmases ago, because we like to reminisce about my bad behaviour at times. And he says, I mind picking you up for Watermill Road, a house in Watermill Road. And he says, I carried you out the house. You were like a skeleton and you were grey. And I needed you to phone into Hope House because I wasn't really wanting to go. I had no intentions really gone. And he says, I had to come and get you out this house, and I carried you out. And I looked at him when he said it, and it's really actually quite sad. And he says, I put you in the front seat, and it was like taking a dead body home to Belgar just to get you to phone. He says, but I had to come and get you and carry you out the house. You were so poor, so wasted. You just looked as though you couldn't take no more. And that is really sad for a father to have to see their daughter. Like, I can't imagine seeing her generally or Taylor in that position. It's awful to think about. Awful.
It's.
I remember the turnaround, because I always remember Gordon saying to me, Well, if you want to change your life, you get my phone number. You need to pick up that phone and phone me. And I remember I was so strung out, I was so ill, my head was wrecked. I was wanting to, at night, I remember it, I was wanting to take a knife and cut my legs off. I was so sore and my body was just jumping, when it's just doing its own thing. And I wanted to get my legs off because I couldn't handle it. A bath wasn't working. I remember my mum lying in her bed and she was just shouting at me and listening to me, try a bath, try this. But it was just destroying. Absolutely destroying. And we've a long lobby in Belgar and the phone was at the bottom of the lobby, and I just don't mind, it must have been really, really early in the morning. And I'm crawling along the lobby on my hands and knees. I was so ill and so frustrated and so desperate. And I was crawling along the lobby in my knees, and I picked up a phone, and that's when I actually phoned. And that's when things started to change. I always remember it because that's kind of when things started to change. And I remember sitting in my kitchen seat. Gordon had came straight up that morning. I think he'd said, I think it was too early. I'm wondering if it was 4 or 5 in the morning I'd phoned. But he'd come up to the house in the morning, and I remember sitting in my kitchen seat, just rocking back and forth. And he stood, he was far away, but I just remember hearing him pray. I thought, this is, in my head I'm thinking, if anything else going on. If it's going on, I couldn't control nothing running about me. I was rocking, I was ill, I was desperate, and I'm just hearing all this in the background and thinking, if anything else going on, if it's going on. I just always remember John McDonald saying, Sasha, what do you want to do with your life? And I think I'd been in and out the Solid Rock Cafe at this point as well, so I mind saying, I mind laughing when I think about it now. I want to work in the Solid Rock Cafe, I want to be a counsellor in the Solid Rock Cafe. When I think back, what made me say that? Where was I at that point when I'm saying something like that? But I just remember he was just awful good to me. And then 3 days before I went to Hope House, I'd another episode in the Lavies, and everything was just covered in bleed. I just couldn't get myself sorted. And the guy took me into the office and he says, hey, listen, I think it's maybe just time that you can home, Ken. You have 3 days. So just you get home, Ken, and sort yourself out for
get ready to go
for Ganawa. But only God again, isn't
God
it?
knew. So you got there, you made the phone calls, you managed to get it done in 2002. So what date was that? Can you mind the date going
into? It was April. It was the beginning of April 2002. I mean, it was April.
And that was doing at Hope House.
I think I'd been missing a couple of days before I'd supposed to go. I didn't intention in going. It was one of them things. My bags were packed for me, and it was just a case of let's just get her out.
It's biggest throughout the early teen challenge days, finding hope.
Mine arriving in Hope House, young, scared, thinking I was tough, but wasn't really that tough. And into this house with 26 other girls. 26. I didn't even like the one. You know what I mean? I was sitting with 26. I thought, how on earth am I going to manage to be here? So I remember, and I wasn't even allowed to say cheer out my mum and dad. They must have recognised that I was like, oh, this is not for me. Already, this is not for me. I mind saying it in my head, this is not for me. I'm out. And the Gwyneth shooed my mum and dad away. They didn't even really get to say cheerio. It was just out. Just leave her here. We'll sort it out when you go. And I was unpacking my stuff. Anne-Marie Allen was there at the time.
Oh, was she?
She wouldn't mind me saying. And she came up to my room as I was unpacking my stuff with a cup of tea and a saucer. I'm thinking, what's going on here? It's Anne-Marie Allen with a cup of tea and a saucer. It was just really, really bizarre. It was awful bizarre. But I didn't have so much tablets. I sailed through 4 days. The first 4 days I sailed through it, not really awful aware of what I was doing. On day 4, I landed in Hope House with a bang, an absolute bang. And I was so ill, really, really, really ill. I was God stuff going on. I thought they were all crazy. I was so ill, I wasn't getting enough tablets to sort me out. I was grumpy, I was cheeky, I was bold. I was all this crying. I just thought, I can't do this. I really, really can't do this. Tried to get home every day. Was never really able. I was so ill, I just couldn't. I wouldn't have survived the 15-hour bus journey home. That's how ill I was. I remember putting on my boots. I had these boots back in the day. They were the Destroy boots with the big metal bits and iron about them. And I thought, right, I'll make an effort to come down to class one night. And I put on the boots and I couldn't lift my legs. I was so weak, I couldn't lift my legs doing a stair. I think I'd gained in maybe 6.5 stone, I think I was. But I remember losing weight 'cause I was so sick.
Wow.
The first few weeks. I thought, I haven't got to manage this. I'm too ill. I think I'm going to manage it. And I certainly wasn't going to come home. I wouldn't have managed to come home.
Aye.
But the desperation just takes over. I remember getting my tablets and spewing. I was spewing all the time, and I spewed up my tablets. And I remember taking the tablets out of the bucket again and throwing them down my throat and thinking, oh my God, is this ever going to end? And for weeks and weeks and weeks, I was just so ill. It just felt like forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in and out of class. I couldn't read or write for about a month. My brain was just mush. And I must have, obviously you're listening, aren't you? Your brain's taking stuff in as you're listening, and the Holy Spirit's working in you, even though you don't even realise it at times. And this verse was going around my head. I think I'd been 3 weeks in, and I'd always said, I'll do my detox and I'm out. That's kind of far I was at, detox and out. I had no intentions in staying, but I was 3 weeks in, and this verse kept running. Well, I didn't realise it was actually a verse. 2 Timothy 4:7. 2 Timothy 4:7 was running around my head, and I mind running to Julie Murray, fitting her says about. Again, if it's 2 Timothy, I didn't really ken the Bible. I'd never seen a Bible. I'd seen it, but I'd never read it. 2 Timothy 4:7, and when she read it to me, I'd fought the good fight, I'd kept the faith, and I will run the race. And there's a prize awaiting. I can't remember the whole verse anyway, but that verse, 2 Timothy 4:7, and it was just something had gone off in my head. I'm actually going to do this. Mm-hmm. This is it. I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to do this program. I'm going to keep the faith. I'm going to run with it, and let's get the graduation at the end of it with my pals round about me.
So
and
even at that stage, it was fun. Things kind of to the prize.
Something
if you like,
just clicked.
It mentions in that verse, right?
Something just clicked with that verse. And in my naivety, I just thought it was to do my program and crack on my life. I see the verse in a different light now, obviously, mm-hmm. but that verse just kept me there at time. And then I gave my life to the Lord probably 3-4 weeks into the program. I didn't get the Hell God stuff. I took my ages and ages and ages to get the Hell God thing, if I'm honest.
But there was a moment there when you just said, "I."
Well, they were on my case. It was Julie Murray.
Julie Murray.
They were on your case. They're that kind of folk, aren't they? They just really, really believed in you and wanted the best for you. They wanted the good life for you. And
mm-hmm.
They were just on my case. So my counsellor, Joanna, I was getting my counselling that day, and she was speaking me through it. And I was like, oh, for honest sake, I'll just do it. Okay, just to get them off my back, I'm just going to give my life to the Lord. I'll just go for it. And I remember sitting in front of the wee coal fire in the white rug, and I'm going, oh, okay, right, just go for this. And then I was going up to do my work duties. But I'll tell you something, and I say it to the clients when I'm sharing about it. Although I didn't really understand what I was doing, I was kind of just doing it just to get folk off my back a wee bit, and probably testing it a wee bit now, if I'm honest, mm-hmm. because they say something happens when mm-hmm. you get saved. But I remember going up to do my work duties, and I was standing in the queue to get into the unit, that's what it was called, and the quine in front of me says, "You've gave your life to the Lord, haven't you?" I went, how do you care? She says, "Because you're smiling." I went, oh, because my nickname was Doorface Dora. I was so miserable. I had a nickname, it was Doorface Dora. We had nicknames at the place, but she knew, because she says, "You're smiling." And see, if I think about it, when I look back, there was a glimmer. There was a glimmer of hope had kind of come in that very, very moment.
Something had
I
happened.
saw something. I saw a light at the end of this tunnel now, for I never ever saw on a tunnel. It was just always dark. I saw this light at the end of it.
There was a glimpse of faith.
There was something. Something happened.
Mm-hmm.
That kept me going.
Aye. So you saying you struggled with the God thing for a while. Was there a moment it clicked for you?
There was, and it's quite a sad moment actually, and probably still breaks my heart to this day, if I'm honest. Here we go. And a girl for the Broch came into the programme. I'd been on phase 2, probably coming up to the end of phase 2, and a young girl came into the programme. She must have just been 16 at the time, and we was on this room and we was just chatting, and she remembered me for the drug time, and she says, "Ashley, I just used to keep some stuff back so that I could use with you, so that you would just like me." And it broke my heart. I thought, Govey, you were so mean to people. You were so dark. You were so hard. And I knew I was. I knew I became a hard person. I knew I became quite dark inside. I didn't like people. I didn't like life. I was very, very negative. I'd acquired that kind of attitude. It was just, I was hopeless. I suppose when I look back, I was just utterly hopeless. And there was nothing about me. And when she came in, it kind of broke me a wee bit. Because I couldn't believe, and I could see that I was so hard and dark and cold, if I'm honest. I was probably a really, really cold person. I became very emotionless and just hard. And when she said that, it destroyed my wee bit. And I remember sitting in the lounge and I was reading my Bible, and I just started to greet. I think I just been reading my Bible and I started to greet, and I would say for 3 days I greet solid. And it was a greet that it wasn't a sad greet, it was just a peaceful greet. I was always greeting, and that's why my greeting started actually, probably. I've never stopped greeting really. And I just remember just walking through the programme for days, just everything just made me cry. A good cry, and I just felt so warm and different inside. There was a peace.
That's repentance, you see.
There was a peace.
Realising the wrong.
I just realised I was so bad.
And then realising you were changing for that as well.
Yep.
That's turning around. And often there's tears come for repentance and brokenness, but it heals you.
Yep. And I recognised the presence of God that very afternoon, and I've never forgot that afternoon. And I just the presence of God, the peace of God is very, very real. And I can't get away from that. Even when I want to, and when I wanted to, I could never get away from that moment, because the presence of God and the peace of God is so strong. When it's on you, so strong. And I grew up for days, and I just thought, oh wow, I can't deny that this is not real anymore. It's very, very real. But I also recognised how bad I was and how ugly I'd became as a person, and that needed to change. And I just went on that discovery, that journey of discovery, really.
So it was a transformation really in how you were and everybody saw it. So, the folk that were there, I guess Julie Murray, Fiona Fallon, and them were there helping you there. Your family back here, I mean, they were obviously just over the moon delighted at how your life was changing. So, people could see it in you. We could all see it, when you came home and you were in church here, you could see it. And then so you went on to graduate. So, you fought the good fight, you finished the race. There
was a verse as well in Ezekiel when it speaks about he takes a stony, stubborn heart out and he'll give you a heart of flesh, he'll put a new spirit within you. And I clung to that verse all through my programme, because I knew how hard my heart was. I knew how ugly my life had become, and how ugly a person I'd become, and I clung to that verse, and that verse was kind of my go-to verse, and it still is at times, because we're tough cookies at times, and sometimes we just need to remember that the Lord is there. We can have grace and forgiveness for folk in life, and took that verse through my programme, and still to this day through life, and I graduated, definitely graduated, yes.
2003.
2003, yep. I finished the programme. Knew when I finished the programme in Hope House I wasn't ready to come home. I'd kicked against the programme for so long that I knew when I came to the end of it, well actually they knew when I came to the end of it that I wasn't ready, and advised me probably to do the school of ministry. And the school of ministry was a year at that time, so went for it, and all the better for it. And then finished and graduated that as well, and came up the road, and when I came up the road, December.
Well, it was around about when you said you were writing the thing in the
December.
1st of December, aye.
Yep.
So you came back up the road.
I did.
How was that? I mean, it is one of the hardest things, isn't it, coming back into the environment.
I didn't think I ever anticipated how hard it was going to be.
Aye.
And I didn't think other folk anticipated how hard it was going to be for me. I think there's this culture that we come out of rehabs, and folk look on us as though we're very well fixed and better, and loving God, and ready to do everything that is put before us. But I wasn't like that. I did love God, and I love God with my heart, but I never anticipated how hard coming home would be. And when I look back, I think, well, I've never lived life. I had never lived life until that point. I was a teenager, I was a rogue, I was a drug addict, and then I was in rehab. So I'd never known normal life.
Aye.
Or been a normal, just
Aye.
an everyday person.
Aye.
I'd just always been mad.
Never got a chance.
So coming up the road, and I jumped into getting married quick, obviously. Come up the road in December, I was married by June, pregnant by August. It just had our thing just happened really, really quick. I was told I couldn't have kids. So to have parents was a shock to me. It didn't mean to happen so quick. I was told I would never have parents. I'd wrecked myself that much. But I'd never anticipated how hard it was going to be. Coming up the road, it was really, really difficult. I struggled.
I suppose it was really a blessing that you and Matthew had each other, and he's doing so great as well. Can we kind of forget how well he's done?
And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Matthew and for how he was.
Oh, aye.
He was so well connected with. He's a people person, isn't he? And I was so shy and had no confidence and never knew nobody around about church. Sadly, again, it's great nowadays because the girls here are meeting people in church and there's connections and there's groups that people are going to. I didn't have none of that, so I was coming from Wales right into the broch and no ken and nobody in church, and just having to kind of start a new life. I just had to freestyle it. Really, it was crazy. I think your mum and dad was my saving grace, probably at church, because I just knew them and I knew they were comfortable, and I would have always made a beeline. I felt comfortable because I never knew nobody. I never knew a soul in church. But Matthew, I wouldn't be here if it was not for Matthew. I really, really wouldn't. He was already established. He had pals. He was in ministry. He was doing his worship and church. So he was great. He was absolutely brilliant.
You know, as we were saying, I mean the wedding, it was just a massive celebration for Abdi. It was there, a massive testimony to the goodness of God as well.
Yep.
It was so honouring to the Lord and to you guys as well. And it'll never be forgotten, really. But, you know, I mean, that's just, again, just you starting the next stage of your life. Because as we're saying, that's almost 17 years ago. What would you say then, Ashley, if we're looking at now, if it has been the greatest challenge for you in that time? Because, you know, the story could end there, isn't it, with you two sharing your vows and that's it, the dreams come true, but life goes on, doesn't it? And you get the bearings and you've got to work in that.
And life's not easy.
No.
I found out life's not that easy. I'll never forget getting married, opening the kitchen cupboards, and I started to greet. I thought, with no money, no us had any money. I had no food in the cupboard. We'd zero money. I just didn't mind greeting, thinking, oh my goodness, I need to go back to Belgrade. First my mum. Okay, and there's always food for mum's to go. But it was so difficult, really, really difficult. It was, I really, really struggled to settle with my sale. I was trying to be a wife, I was trying to be a mom, I was trying to do things for the Lord. I was working at the cafe. Thank goodness for the cafe at that time, because I think I learnt a lot. It was probably the hardest time in my life in that cafe, because the things that was happening was going against everything that I could do. I didn't even understand why I did half of it sometimes, because I was never able to.
It's worth mentioning that because I think you said to John McDonnell that you wanted to be a counsellor.
Yep.
You probably didn't again really fit a counsellor in the soul.
No, no idea what a counsellor was.
You did come back and you became the person that worked with the queens, the females, and helped them that were in the same situation as what you were in.
Yep.
I think
the joy through all that was my heart. My heart has always been to help other women, whether it's an addiction or just brokenness. My heart is just to help other women just reach their potentials and just get free and live good lives and be happy and successful, be good moms, raise good parents. I've always had that thought in my head. That's my vision, isn't it? It's my vision for my own life. It's my vision for Abdi's life. It's just to get on, live life, be successful, and crack on.
It's really good that we're saying this, and Julie's here to give you some moral support, and she is one of those.
Yep.
That you helped originally, and now is those things and more that you've just said. As you're saying, you're working with folk, you're helping folk, you're spending your life with folk that you love and you know, a day in life we look at. In a great church, Fraserburgh Community Church, great pastor Kevin, you know, and you're working for the Lord in the centre as well.
Yep.
But you know,
Yep.
again, there's still things that go on. There's still sometimes empty times, and there's still
Very
that.
much, and I used to always feel like a schizophrenic Christian because I would be doing so much stuff on the outside, and on the inside I just felt an absolute mess and felt so I was crumbling. And I'm not going to say that life's been perfect. Life hasn't been perfect. My marriage hasn't been perfect. Me and Matthew are very, very strong folk, and put two of them folk together and it can be chaos. And there's been so many moments I could never get the balance right.
You've always been really open about your own insecurities, your own shyness and things like that.
Shy.
I've always you always think that you are nae able to do what you're going to do. Whatever job it is, whether it's coming back to Solid Rock and helping folk get into Teen Challenge, whether it was saying your testimony, preaching, which you do great enough, and it must have been, you've always had to meet up challenges, and I guess God's helped you through as well. So it's amazing for you at now, you know what I mean? Lockdown, kind of so many people struggling with the kind of things that you were just saying as well, but yet you're moving forward and into something new at this time. Still with struggles and challenges, I'm sure. But if you got anything that you would say in Ashley, and just to encourage people just at this time, this ridiculous time really that we're in, another lockdown, winter, you know, and you just come across folk all the time that are just really struggling.
Really fed up.
Fed up, then I really ken far purpose going in our life. So, you know, is there something that you can encourage with your own words, really?
I think what I've found through this lockdown, I've seen the worst of myself and I've seen the best of myself. I've seen the worst in the parents and I've seen the best in the parents. We're seeing the worst and we're seeing the best, aren't we? I suppose for myself, when it comes to, when it's been through the lockdown, I've really learned how to press on. We've not had church, have we? We've not had the people around about us to encourage us the same as we would have normally. We're not in the environment of worship for it's just naturally just put on before us. We've really got to press on, haven't we? And meet with the Lord in our own personal times. And I really missed church to start with. I really missed church because everything's kind of there for you. But I've kind of got to that place with the Lord and me myself is, of course I still miss church, but the Lord is there, and the Lord is, He's in your life, He's in your house, He's always there, and He's always with us, and He never leaves us nor forsakes us. He's about us, He's working through us. All while we gone, He is there. My Lord is still with me. But we have to push on, we have to press on, and we have to intentionally encourage ourselves. We have to intentionally put the worship music on. We've intentionally got to sit with our family at times and stir that flame within us when it comes to the Lord. We've got to intentionally go out there and do it. And it's a challenge. And it doesn't come easy. At times it doesn't come easy because we're so busy, aren't we? But what an opportunity to really meet with our Lord in this time of lockdown personally and get to know Him and get to see Him still at work in our lives, even though we're in this position. We can. There is still hope, isn't there? There is still Him. While we're still breathing, He is still there, working in our lives.
Absolutely. And you know what? Again, that's a message for believers. There are people that will be watching us, and maybe there's so much of the younger generation starting to go back in. Give it, I mean, it's another period as well for there's a lot of abuse of substances again, and there's a lot of different kind of things that suit you. I mean, and it's an opportunity just to say to somebody, get in touch with us. You actually got in touch through a church pastor. Give it, I mean, so
that wasn't gone to church. It was just through making a phone call and then it happening for there. What I am thankful for through my life is the workers like probably yourself and Gordon and other different people that had a hand in helping me during my life. I didn't believe in myself, but I'm thankful for the folk that believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And that's the ability us as Christians have got for the lost that's out there, for the addict. If there's people working with with people that's in addiction, believe for them and still believe for them even in this season, because there is always hope, and there is always people that through the different churches, just a phone call, just reaching out, always just get to that point where you can still just reach out. People are always there for you.
Aye, and again, if anybody's watching, we would say reach out, we'll get you in touch with people that have been there, like yourself, Ashley, like Julie, Paul, lots of people that can help you. I mean, if you just say, I need to change my life, and so many people do need to change their life. It's just a great story of faith, because really, you know, God was working even at your darkest moments. He was there, and he was working for you. And I kind of, he was for Matthew as well. I remember him always saying it was in a jail cell that he said a prayer, and that was a change in his life. And Jesus is the answer in this season, in this time, isn't it? Jesus is the answer. But we just, hey, it's been totally an inspiration. You are an inspiration, you know what I mean? And what you're doing now, are so many people behind you because they've seen your journey. They celebrate with you. And it's a great testimony to the goodness of God. And it's a great testimony to how you've remained faithful to the Lord as well. So thank you for encouraging us and inspiring us today, Ashley.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure.
A pleasure.
God bless. That's us.
Thank you to everybody who took part today. It was awesome.
Yeah, we'd just really like to extend that thanks to Ashley in particular for being so honest, for being so open, and for sharing your life story with us today. We're believing that it's really going to speak to someone this morning. If you have anything that you would like to contact the church about, if it's to share anything that's spoken to you this morning, or to ask for support or prayer, we just encourage you to use the contact details shared on the screen just now.
That's all for us this morning. Have a lovely day.